This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English. Episode number 122, baby. Oh yeah. In today's episode, I speak to Clarification Charlie. And I'm giving her a posh test. I gave a test last week to Boom Boom. He failed the test. So this week I've decided to give a test to Clarification Charlie just to see how posh she really is. If you don't know what posh means, don't worry, it will be in the podcast. Remember, all of the rock and roll vocabulary is on the website, rockandrollenglish.com. Go there, use it, have fun. Happy listening. Clarification Charlie, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Always fantastic, Charlie. Always fantastic. Even more fantastic now I can see you wearing these fantastic headphones. As soon as I saw Clarification Charlie today, I said, wow, fantastic. You've bought some new headphones to record this podcast. Just tell everyone whose headphones they are.
They're my 19-month-old daughter's.
19 months, okay? I would still say that's a year and a half, okay? When are we going to grow out of this months thing?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay, she's a year and a half.
Yeah, so she's a year and a half, okay, people, and she has the same size head as Clarification Charlie. So just try and think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
As I said to Clarification Charlie before the show, I have an enormous head because I have an enormous brain, okay?
Yeah. I just want to point out my daughter doesn't have an enormous head. I, in fact, have a tiny one. Just so people are aware of that.
Thank you very much for pointing that out and pointing out with some lovely rock and roll vocabulary. You did point that out very nicely. She indicated that to us, okay? Remember, it's not mini Clarification Charlie that's strange. It's just Clarification Charlie, okay? She's the strange one. I think that's enough of heads. So how do we start the show?
With a review.
Do you think we have a review?
Yes.
I don't think we do, unfortunately. I always say I don't think we do because I haven't really looked that much, okay? I generally need people to send me a message. Again, it probably wouldn't take long for me to search, but I am lazy, okay? So no reviews today. But it is great to have you back, okay? A female back. So for all the girls out there, girl power, go out, burn your bras, stuff like this. Bras, I don't know if people know that word, actually. Bras, what are they, Clarification Charlie?
Oh, bras are what holds ladies' breasts into position.
Ladies' breasts, not men's breasts.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies' breasts. Yeah, the thing that support the breasts. Yeah, great things. A real man knows how to undo a bra. Okay, just so I don't think we mentioned that on our real man test, but yeah, that's definitely a real man thing. Anyway, so in today's podcast, we're doing another sort of test because last week I did a kind of likability test with Boom Boom. So this week I'm doing a posh test with you, Clarification Charlie. Okay, so remember, posh is someone that let's say is in the upper class of society in Britain. Very much like Clarification Charlie these days with her two cars, one of which is a Mercedes, I think, isn't it?
It is. Do you know what posh actually stands for?
I actually don't, but just so people know, stand for is a piece of rock and roll vocabulary there. So, for example, DIY stands for do it yourself. But posh, no, I don't know what it stands for.
Well,
please tell me.
Posh stands for port out, starboard home. And it implies to when you're cruising. So it means that you're on the side of, your cabin is on port side going out and starboard side coming home.
If people are thinking, what the fuck is she talking about? I'm thinking the same, okay? Because I've got no idea what that means. I understood it's something connected to a boat, okay?
A boat. So you have a boat and one side is port side.
I don't know the size of the boat. All I know is even if you know this, even talking about boats makes you posh, okay? So you're already doing shit on the test. Although I suppose being posh is not a bad thing, is it? If you're an upper class member of society.
Oh, yes, okay.
Well, let's have a look at how you do in the rest of the test. You're already doing badly. It hasn't even started. Sure, okay. So apparently there are different types of posh. Okay, there's poshness of birth. I don't know if poshness is a word. It was on the website, but I can see on Microsoft Word it's got that little line underneath to make me think it's not correct. But let's call it a word.
Okay.
So poshness of birth. So depends where you were born. So where were you born? Clarification, Charlie.
I was born in Kent.
I did know the answer to that. I just obviously wanted the other people, the listeners, to know that. And I must admit, I did used to think Kent was posh until I met you. This is actually true. When we went to university, there were quite a few people from Kent, and I had always thought it was a really posh place. It's very near London. And then I met all these other people from Kent, Clarification Charlie being one of them, and thinking, fucking hell, Kent must be a shithole. So a shithole is a place that's just not very nice. What are your thoughts on it?
Fuck off.
Thank you very much. I'm from Essex, on the other hand, like Boom Boom and Corporal Coma, which, as everyone knows, is an extremely posh place.
Fuck off. It's not. There was programme on when we were about teenagers. And was it called like Essex Wives or something? Or Essex...
See, although you are posh, you lose your posh points because you watch this kind of shit TV.
I didn't. Do you know what? I actually never watched it. Fuck you. I never watched it. But there was that woman that became really famous from it.
Yeah, she sounds great, that woman. I just thought I would just mention to everyone, the Clarification Charlie has said fuck you at least 5 times now, okay? Again, not doing well on the posh count.
I know, sorry.
Okay, so another thing about being posh is the accent, okay? So do you think you've got a posh accent, Clarification Charlie?
My accent goes in and out. It depends what I'm doing.
In and out? What the fuck does that mean?
Honestly,
How can an accent go in and out? In and out of what?
Because
a penis goes in and out of a vagina. An accent doesn't go in and out of anything.
It bloody well does. My accent is generally very neutral, and I find that wherever I am, my accent changes slightly.
You just
since
adapt
I've been living down here, I come out with some proper little Cornish twangs every now and then. But likewise, when I find I talk to you, Essexness comes out. I'm not even from Essex. It's just you with your ways.
Well, that's me. I influence everyone I touch. Okay, not that I'm touching you at the moment, just in case your husband's listening.
Yeah, definitely
We're talking on the internet. There's a lot of space between us, thousands of miles.
Exactly.
Although Clarification Charlie did use some rock and roll vocabulary there when she said like an Essex twang. So that means just like a sort of noise that comes out. Especially in your accent. So you obviously just adapt to your surroundings. I would hate to go to America with you and hear you putting on an American accent.
Yeah, I don't think I'd go that far, but...
Thank God. There is nothing worse, though, when I meet someone and then I have to change my accent, okay? If I have to start pronouncing T's, if I ever say Saturday, that means I'm not comfortable with the person I'm speaking to, because normally I would say Saturday.
You are the worst for dropping... letters.
It's too much. It's too much effort. Okay, it's even like the keep on rocking that I say. I don't say rocking because the G. I haven't got time to put the G on there. Clarification, Charlie. I've got a job. I'm doing this podcast. I'm doing a lot of shit. I can't be putting G's on and putting T's in all of my words.
I have to say though, you speak much posher now than you did when I first met you. Because I think if you spoke how you spoke when I first met you, no one would understand you.
Lovely second conditional there. If you spoke like when I first met you, no one would understand you. Well, I'm more cultured now, aren't I? When you first met me, I'd never been outside of Essex in my whole life. So I'm more cultured now. I've seen the world. I've seen Sicily, for example. So the next type of poshness is poshness of education. Okay, so what, again, I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask her, what type of school did you go to, Clarification Charlie?
I went to an all-girls grammar school.
I mean, now that is posh, isn't it? All-girls grammar school. So if people don't know, in England, there's this thing called grammar schools, where you have to pass a test to go into this school, don't you? And generally only the posh people take the test, and then only the posh people pass the test. But going to an all-girls school, I mean, that must have been shit.
Yeah, it was awful.
I can imagine. I, on the other hand, went to a Catholic school, and all the other schools used to call us Bible bashers. So bashing something is sort of like let's say, almost punching something, because I suppose they thought that we were just playing with the Bibles all of the time, which wasn't actually true. Although on a Tuesday we did have this thing called reflective time, where we had to read a passage from the Bible and reflect how it was similar to our week. I always thought, even when I was 11, this is a bit strange, isn't it? Like, I'm reading a story about Noah's Ark, for example, saving loads of animals, and thinking, oh, this is really similar to my life. I'm always saving loads of animals.
I tell you what, though, my husband went to a private school.
Oh, your poshness. Your poshness is just going up through the roof. So through the roof, it just increases so much. Although one thing I do want to bring up here is that I notice we refer to your husband as your husband. He needs to be Mr. Clarification Charlie, okay, and nothing else. Mr.
Clarification Charlie. He went to a private school, and they had to have chapel every day.
Chapel, so that's like church, yeah.
So they used to go into the chapel, and there would be like a speech from the head boy, and then various things every day. I was head girl.
Oh, well, you're perfect for each other then, aren't you? Head girl. So head girl, if people don't know, is the person that sort of gets voted to be like the kind of, let's say, president of the girls. And generally only the really sort of not very cool people do that. Okay, yeah, I was obviously way too cool for that. I was on the back of the bus like kissing girls and stuff like that. Okay, I had no time for head boy, head girl. Yeah. So another one is poshness of excellent taste. Okay, so excellent taste with things like clothes, stuff like this, music you listen to. And I was thinking about this, and I thought I did see a picture of Mini Clarification Charlie dressed in a pretty cool outfit the other day. So outfit's clothes, and I thought, wow, that means Clarification Charlie does have maybe poshness of excellent taste. She was looking pretty cool.
She was looking cool, wasn't she, actually? I tell you what, she has some amazing clothes. I love my daughter's clothes.
Is that why you sort of take them like you take her headphones as well?
Yeah, I wish sometimes they did her clothes in my size. Obviously her headphones are in my size, so that is fine.
Any of head range, hats, stuff like that is fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hats are fine. And do you know what, she was wearing my hat? So in that photo you saw, that was my hat she was wearing.
It's so great that you can share clothes already with your daughter who's not even 2. And I noticed there I said not even 2. I didn't go for your 19 months
year and a
thing.
half. Yeah, okay. I know. Honestly, she's awesome. She's awesome.
Awesome. Much more awesome than you. Yeah. Definitely. I've never seen you dressed that well. So all of your taste obviously goes to your daughter. So another test actually of how posh you are is how you shake someone's hand and how many times. Because there's nothing worse than someone that really squeezes your hand. I've noticed this with posh people. They want to sort of show you how much better than you they are. So they sort of take your hand so much it actually hurts. Someone we went to university with, I won't mention the name, I remember the first time I met him, shook my hand, and I actually thought, oh, you've broken my hand. But I didn't want to show any weakness. Okay.
Do you know what? I was actually taught how to shake hands properly.
I mean, this is unbelievable. Why do you need a lesson about how to shake hands? I mean, this again is just showing how posh you are. You put your hand out, you take the other person's hand, you move it up and down a couple of times, and that's it. You don't need a training course for a week.
They just used to say, no one likes a wet fish. So it's like when you arrive, you've got to give a strong handshake because you don't want to be really limp and pathetic in shaking your hand. I'm going to have to stop you there.
So rock and roll vocabulary, a limp. Yeah, it's basically just a weak handshake. I agree with you on this. But I don't need to have like a lesson about that. Everyone knows that. No one likes, as you called it, a wet fish. Speaking of wet fishes as well, there's nothing worse when it's a sweaty hand, when it is actually wet. When I've been doing this entrance testing at school, and you meet about 100 people in an hour, and you have to like test their English quickly. And then when, especially the teenagers, I noticed, the young sort of like 13, 14-year-olds, they just give you their hand and it's soaking wet of sweat and just gamminess. So something that's gammy is something that's just a bit sweaty and disgusting. Oh, my God.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Real lovely. So another one again, to see if you're posh. Have you ever ridden a horse?
Of course I have.
Of course you have. You've got 3 horses in your back garden.
No, and thing is, I almost don't want to say it because you're just going to absolutely rinse me.
We're going to have to stop it there. Rinse me. So basically make fun of me. That's what you're here for, clarification, Charlie. Why else would you be here except for me to make fun of you? Tell us your horse story.
Well, no, I was to say it has been known for me and a friend to ride horses into a pub. You can hook up your horse, you can have lunch, and then you can ride your horse home again.
I'm just trying not to listen to this, okay? For the sake of our friendship, I'm just trying to pretend I'm not listening to this. You take your horse to the pub.
You go for a ride, don't you? So you just get the horse out, and you go for a ride. But then it's quite nice because out where I'm from in Kent, there's loads of villages and village pubs, and obviously lots of people do riding. And so you ride to a pub, and pubs are quite kind of so some of them are quite geared up for horses, whereby you could just, hook your horse.
I've never been to a pub that is horse friendly. Okay,
right,
the pubs I go to don't even like dogs, and that's why I go to them. No animals. Okay. I've never even heard of a pub that says come along, bring your horse.
Yeah, it happens in Kent, in the country.
Well, so I was right then. It is a posh place. Unbelievable. I've never been on a horse. I've got absolutely no intention of going. They scare the shit out of me. They're fucking massive.
I'm not a confident rider, really. I don't know. I've done it, but
you fucking ride the horse when you're drunk. You go to the pub, get drunk, and ride. That probably makes you more confident, doesn't it? Just have a few glasses of wine, and then
I know. No, I don't know. I'm not really, really confident. It depends on how good the horse is.
What a terrible life. You're not so confident riding a horse to the pub. I feel so sorry for you.
I've got another story to tell, but I don't even know why I'm opening my mouth.
I don't want to hear it. If your horse doesn't work, you can just drive your Mercedes. So you've got nothing to worry about.
Exactly.
Anyway, we do want to hear this story. Tell us.
Oh no, it's just when I was playing polo once.
Oh my God, stop. Playing polo. So this is, I don't know if people are familiar with this. It's a game that you play on horses. I don't really know how to play it. Look at it on Google. Generally, like the Queen, and I don't know if she plays anymore. She's probably a bit old.
She goes to watch it though.
Of course she does. Of course she does. Yeah.
I've only played polo once. I went for a lesson, and because I'm not a very confident rider, I had to have a very skilled polo horse that generally knew what to do because I wasn't as good in control. So I'm not that good on horses.
It's the equivalent of driving like an automatic car, I suppose.
Yes,
isn't it? I'm just trying to put it in layman terms, which is some rock and roll vocabulary. Layman terms are like simple language, because for me, people of the street, we don't understand what it is to play polo and go and fucking drive your horse to the pub. I don't know if drive your horse is the right word. I'm not posh. I don't know. Ride your horse. Sure. Yeah. So the finale, the big question is: do you prefer rugby or football?
Oh, it's a no-brainer. Have you met my husband?
A no-brainer means that she doesn't even have to think about it.
Charlie, and of course it's rugby. Of course it's rugby. And also,
clarification, Charlie.
The other thing is, my husband
pleasure
is
knowing you.
My husband is almost the spit image of the ex-England captain as well. There's a player called Chris Robshaw, who, if you Google him, if you look at a picture of him,
I don't know who that is because I don't know anything about rugby. Although she did use some rock and roll vocabulary when she said a spitting image of. Yeah. So if you're a spitting image of someone, you look exactly like someone. But I can imagine this person, this ex-rugby captain, is a hunk. So a hunk is a sexy man, very much like Mr. Clarification Charlie. I must admit, rugby players are real men. Okay, they're like big and strong, and football players,
That's why I quite like it. They're just quite nice big men. Whereas what I get annoyed at with football...
Don't try and make me feel more stupid and inadequate, okay?
No,
anyway, we have to go now, Clarification
Sorry.
Charlie, because we've come up to our 20-minute time limit, and the person that writes the transcripts will kill me if we go over this.
Sorry.
So you should be, okay? You've miserably failed, passed the posh test, I suppose. You are definitely 100% posh, okay?
Thank you. I don't know that. Do I thank you for that?
Be proud of it. Be proud of who you are, okay?
Okay, thanks.
No problem at all. Thanks for the time. We'll see you soon.
Cheers. Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that was me and Clarification Charlie speaking about being posh. She probably will never be on the podcast ever again now that she said she preferred rugby to football, but never mind. Let's have a look at some of that rock and roll vocabulary. She said that she wanted to point out that her daughter doesn't have an enormous head. It's just that she has a tiny head. So when you point something out, it's when you kind of indicate it and you tell someone about it. I just want to point out that this is the best learning English podcast in the world. Just in case you didn't know, I just wanted to point it out to you. We had the word bra. So bra is the piece of underwear that women have to hold their breasts in place. It took me a few seconds to think of an appropriate word to say there. She also asked me if I knew what posh stands for. So we use this term stand for something when we write the letters but they have a significance. For example, some people write text messages and they write BTW, which means by the way. I didn't know that at the beginning. Someone sent me a message and said BTW and I thought, what the fuck does that mean? But then I realised that BTW stands for by the way. I told Clarification Charlie that I thought Kent, the place she is from, was posh until I met her and I thought, fuck, it must be a shithole. So a shithole is a horrible place. A place that looks like shit, a hole with shit in it. She said that she has these Cornish twangs. So a twang, it's the way you speak and then it just has that strange little sound at the end. Cornish as well, just in case people don't know, is where she actually lives now in Cornwall in England. Have a look at it on Google. I've actually never been there, but one day hopefully I will. Hopefully I can stay at Clarification Charlie's. I told her that her poshness was going through the roof. So when something is going through the roof, it's increasing a lot. I think it was when she mentioned about the horses and how she takes her horse to the pub. I said, fuck, your poshness is going through the roof. She said that Mr. Clarification Charlie had to go to chapel every day. So chapel is kind of a little church, a very small one, like the type of thing you have in a school. You don't have a proper big church, you just have a little chapel. So if you want, go in there, have a little pray, sure. We were then talking about handshakes and Clarification Charlie said that you don't want to be limp. So a limp handshake is just one of those really shit ones with no power in it. You can also have a limp person, the person that's always just a bit like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. That person is limp. You need to have some strength, have some balls, you know what I mean? We had the word gammy when we were talking about hands. So gammy, do you know when you shake someone's hand and it's just a little bit wet? That's gammy, a bit disgusting. Clarification Charlie also used a very slang term when she said, I don't want to say this story because I know that you'll just rinse me. So that, as I said, means making fun of someone. I was then saying to her that I'm just trying to put it in layman terms. So layman terms is basically simple language. If you hear someone talking about mathematics, you don't understand, you can say to them, put it in layman's terms, then I'll probably understand. When I asked Clarification Charlie about what she prefers, football or rugby, she said it's a no-brainer. Lovely rock and roll vocabulary, which means basically I don't need to think about it. It's obvious. It's easy. She then said that Mr. Clarification Charlie is the spitting image of the ex-England rugby captain. So if you are the spitting image of someone, you look like them. You look like them a lot. And then I said to her that I imagine this ex-England rugby captain is a hunk. So a hunk is a really sexy man. Much like Mr. Clarification Charlie, actually. He's a real man. Not like some other people on this podcast. Anyway, remember all of the rock and roll vocabulary is on the website, rockandrollenglish.com. I will see you all again next week on Christmas Eve, actually. In the meantime, though, people, just keep on ROCKin.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.